call our meeting to order for our planning work session for January. Welcome everybody that's here. Big crowd today. Thank y'all for being here. Thank you, Lucas. If you would, like to open with a pledge of allegiance. Mr. Hutchins is going to lead us in opening prayer.
Fathers, we come to you this afternoon. Thank you for a lovely day. I thank you that we've been able to get together this afternoon to take up the business of the county that you've put us to live in. Thank you for trusting us with it. And Lord, I ask you to just lead and guide each one of us this afternoon as we make the decisions that have to be made. Lord, I just ask you to touch each one of these members, each one of the teachers and staff of this school system, and each one of the children. Lord, lead us in the way that you would have us to go. And Lord, we'll thank you and praise you for everything that you've done, everything that you're going to do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Any questions on the agenda? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve it as is presented.
I move we approve the agenda.
Motion by Mr. Whitaker.
Second.
Second by Mr. Hutchins. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, no? Thank you. Mrs. Chilton, our Finance Academy. We're going to get a certificate from this after we're done.
Pat you on the back.
Yeah, there you go. That's all we can get. That's what we'll take it then. Good to have you back. Good to see you here. And just can't wait to be an expert in finance.
Board members, I'll just say, we set this 30 minutes, and I know we may take longer than that. We've got this session in January, we've got another session in February, and probably another session in March before we have our budget retreat. So I looked at these as ways that we can honestly talk about the needs of the school system, look at where we stand, and then have those conversations. And as you know, we're going to be meeting with the county commissioners at the end of February during their budget retreat, and so this time together really helps inform us. So I think Ms. Chilton's put together some information here for you, not only to really think about today, but absorb and take with you, and then we can, hopefully this will inform the next budget work session, or session like this Finance Academy we have in February, at the February work session.
There's a couple of sort of miscellaneous things that we need to talk about before we get into the budget discussion. The first item is the administrative process for the supplemental funds for teacher compensation. This is the same process as what was approved last year. This would be the additional supplement that teachers and certified instructional staff received. It's the PRC 071 funds. I don't know the dollar amount yet because our policy says that anyone who is hired by February 1st in that category will receive the supplement. So once February 1st gets here and I know that everybody's in payroll that should be in payroll, I can start calculating that dollar amount. I do anticipate that it will be a higher amount than what they received last year. So this process would need to be approved at the February budget or regular meeting so that we can move forward. We will pay that supplement in April.
And typically, they give us a total amount and a max per employee, right? That's
Yes.
what you gotta go by? Okay.
Yes, we cannot pay more than the max. The maximum does not factor in the FICA and retirement that we have to pay. So we won't be able to pay what the maximum says.
I will remind the board, these are the funds that pre-K teachers did not qualify for last year, and you took monies from the supplemental, additional supplemental funds that the county commissioner gave to pay our pre-K teachers back in October.
40-some thousand, roughly.
So pre-K teachers aren't eligible for these instructional funds either, so that was something I know the board discussed at the at that meeting back in October about taking additional funds for this year for pre-K come April, so they can be paid at the same time. So just put that in the back of your mind as you're considering this.
That was, going forward, proposals or options, was on that report, but we just went back and made the supplemental payment for this year.
We made it back, yeah, we made it back,
Back,
we said we
yeah.
take it up. Yeah.
But those options are still, we'll be looking at those when.
Well, and so the one we paid in the fall was actually for last year, where I think we paid it in December. I did include a note in this memo, that certified pre-K teachers would be paid the same supplement from local funds in April 2024. So if the board needs to discuss that further, then I need to remove that from this memo.
I think we decided that we would look at it before you did the payments to the rest of the teachers, if we wanted to include that, include everybody. So would you need to know that in February then, to make the payments in April?
Probably the sooner the better, so that we can make sure we get it paid at the same time as everyone else.
There are about 3 options, but they're not.
We could bring that back at the February work session if the board would like to discuss what remaining funds. Maybe by then we'll have a little better idea of the number, specifically what it's gonna cost.
It's in the training center, our last training center.
But I think one of the options though, didn't involve pay to the pre-K teachers. There was something else that we were gonna use it for that didn't involve it.
I think all scenarios have the pre-K payment.
Okay,
I can pull that up.
maybe it was assistant principals that hadn't received.
That was October meeting that we had that.
It was later.
Could have been November.
Yeah, but yeah, the discussion was we wanted to pay them the
Yeah.
back pay.
Each scenario included paying the pre-K certified staff the supplement for fiscal year '23 and fiscal year '24. We didn't go beyond this school year.
And we
So we don't
approved,
need to add anything, it's already been approved.
No, we had said that we would approve back paying, but we couldn't go ahead and approve to pay for '24 because we didn't know what the amount was going to be through the state.
I got you, all right.
and we didn't know how many until you said it February 1st.
Mhm.
Is that something we're meeting? They're gonna be enough time? Figure all that out, we meet February 5th.
Yeah, I should be able to, I'll go ahead and start working it up, and then, I mean, there should just be minor changes between now and February 1st.
So we'll need to approve the process and we'll need to make a decision on pre-K.
Yeah, and I'll, before this gets on the agenda for February 5th, I'll remove that line, and that'll just be something you all,
Gotcha.
I'll remove this.
Okay.
Okay, the second item is the audit contract. It's the standard audit contract, it has the fee in there. I have to get this approved before they can start scheduling dates and work. They usually start coming out to do interim and individual schools in early spring, so, I like to get this approved so we can go ahead and get good dates and get on their books.
And how does this compare with the previous?
The fee, I think, only went up $200.
We've been using them a pretty good while.
Yeah, and they audit a lot of school systems. The fee is very reasonable, in my experience.
I remember that she mentioned that they audit over half the school systems in North Carolina. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
37,750, not to exceed.
Mhm. It is on page 7.
And included in that is financial statement preparation.
Mhm.
Okay. Do we just need to have that approved at the February meeting?
Yeah,
Okay. Any questions? Okay.
okay. The next item is, I think a report we were asked to provide. This is a report right out of Link, it's just a budget report. I ran it from July through December because we're still in January. We haven't posted January payroll yet, so the numbers wouldn't be correct. The top part shows our revenues in each fund, so you've got state, local, federal, capital outlay, child nutrition, trust and agency, which is daycare, and our local restricted. You can see the budgeted revenue, the actual revenue that we have received, and then below that are the expenditures. Same thing, the budgeted expenditures, what we've spent to date, and over on the far right, under outstanding POs, that would be everything that's been encumbered. And then the unencumbered balance is what we have left after expenditures and encumbrances. State and federal, the revenue, I don't want you to think we haven't received all of our state revenue, that money. So your revenue and your expenditures for state and federal are usually gonna match or be very close because like I was explaining before the meeting started, you have to draw down those funds. We don't just have that money sitting in our ledger.
And you have to guess, a real good guess every month about what you're gonna need, and that's what you draw down, that's what you request.
Yeah, and then the state does something called a zero out, so usually we have, I try to keep it under $30,000 every month, so they'll pull that money back, and then we go into a journal entry to get all that trued up.
So they want you to be pretty close to what you actually need.
Yeah, they give you actually what we call a report card, and it gives you a, what we call zero out percentage, and they want you to be under 3%.
So this is, you can pull this every month from Link, is that what you said?
That's my finance software.
Local restricted, pretty much commissioner money.
That is actually in our Fund 2.
Okay.
So that's the local current expense fund. Fund 8 is mostly gonna be grants, local grants. So in pre-K, you've got pre-K, driver's ed, local funds are in there. You've got Jody's grants sitting out there. When we charge indirect costs from federal grants, that money goes in Fund 8. So most of that money is sort of designated for that program area and can be spent on that area. Medicaid funds are in Fund 8.
Okay, any questions on that? That's good to see, and we're 50% of the way through the year, less than 50%, but we're gonna have those supplemental funds and things are gonna be paid coming up, so that'll probably balance it back out. Okay. All right. One more.
Let's see. All right, so now into the Finance Academy. Do they have access to that document?
Yeah, but it's not.
The one that you put on there?
Yeah, it's a Google
It's just-
sheet.
Just got the topics.
We just have
It's
to
one
talk.
page.
We don't have the tabs on the Finance Academy.
Okay, let me find that. I'll add those.
Okay, I'll go ahead and just go over the agenda while she's doing that. So I've got 5 topics that we're gonna just run through. The first one is our funding sources, which I just sort of hit on with that monthly budget report. Then we're gonna talk about the ESSER funding cliff, and then different types of capital funds. And then we're gonna get into some of the budget needs that we're hearing, in our budget meetings that we've been having, some of the big ticket items that we need to start thinking about. And then if you have questions, we can talk about that at the end.
I think, just think about this for the next work session, and then the finance, then the meeting with the county commissioners. How do we categorize some of these needs into priorities? We don't have to make no decisions today, but just thinking long-term, what are those priorities? In thinking about prior meetings with our commissioners, you know, they're gonna have a budget workbook that's about 3 or 4 inches thick. So if we go in there and put everything in the kitchen sink on the table, it's gonna be hard for them to really prioritize that. So I think we're gonna have to narrow some things down, but again, today is just to give you kind of a broad overview to help us go into the February work session with maybe a little bit more of a laser focus in February.
Okay, so topic one, our funding sources.
Do we just need to refresh?
I'm actually converting that to a PDF now and adding the topic one as we speak. So I'm adding that now. One moment.
And the revenues and expenditures on this tab are gonna be different than the report we just went over, because I ran these last week, so they have more up-to-date numbers. But payroll for January has not been done either, so, I just wanted to give you an idea of where our money's coming from and kind of where we're at. So you can see state funds, local current expense funds, federal funds, our capital outlay funds. I've got a tab dedicated all to capital funds, so we're gonna go over that in detail. School nutrition funds, trust and agency funds, which is before and after school daycare, and then special revenue.
Is that gonna be under this PDF?
Oh.
We can't follow
We
it.
can't call it.
Yeah.
You want me to share this with
There we go,
them?
topic
Okay,
one.
I just added topic one. I'll have the other two
Where is
topics
it
in a
now?
second.
Refresh, and you'll go just under the finance part. Topic one is the PDF there.
Okay. So we're looking at funding sources now, we can see that.
Let's refresh. To refresh it, what you put it.
Yeah, that little circle at the top with the arrow on it, left hand, top left.
Yep, right there.
Yeah, he did, Mr. Wood.
So the capital outlay funds, that's where the lottery money is sitting as well, correct?
So we don't have the lottery funds here. We have to apply for that, and we have to go through the county commissioners for that money.
Okay.
And there's some things that are eligible for lottery funds and some that aren't eligible. So any lottery funds that we would have to make a request to the county commissioners, and they would have to approve it, and then they would have to ask for the money in Raleigh.
Gotcha.
And I think the board chair and the county commissioner chair have to sign off.
Stop on
No, for Theo, I'm not sure where those funds start.
there. Finance, if we might
That one
want
for
to
the
make
county
it,
commission.
scroll down.
I think there's a general statute, you could always request that money to come
Before
to
and
the
after
school
school
system.
daycare,
I
we brought in
think that would require board action.
We haven't yet, that's a projection based on what we've done. in the
All
last few
topics
years.
have been downloaded now as a PDF to the agenda.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
That we've spent 81,614.21, is that salaries for before and after? Sorry, I was supposed to ask questions, but I was making sure I understood. Okay.
We pay child nutrition for snacks.
Yes,
Now you have to
we
refresh
did
it
that to
again.
make our own money.
Yes.
Refresh it again now on
Yes.
topics.
I think you've got topic
Yeah,
1, 2, and 3
that's-
on yours, don't you?
yeah.
There's 5, they have to refresh again.
Close out of that.
Actually, there's 4, there's not a
Not a full-
tab for
okay.
questions.
Yeah, I didn't do a tab for
Yes,
questions.
I've got all 4 of mine up.
Okay.
If you just refresh it again, it should
Refresh
bring all four.
again right there.
It's refresh. I'll see.
Go back in, just like you did a while ago.
If you're in the
All of them will be there.
agenda, refresh it instead of the document.
I'm gonna need a certificate after this.
We need to put down some training for this.
Go back to
This is some of the board training.
Refresh it there.
Technology, we had to do it when I was my teacher license, we had to do technology training.
Thank you.
Good? Okay, so on to topic 2.
Has everybody got 4 topics in?
Let's, hold on,
I think you had 2, didn't you?
can I blame this on my age?
That's what I'm doing.
Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, all of us but TJ can.
That's right.
Well, you're close to me. You're close. He's the only one that don't have.
I
I've got
can
4
plug
topics.
your
Is that-
in.
That's
am I
it.
good?
Yes, sir.
All right.
There, now we got
I'll let me hold y'all up, but I've got
it. All right, we're talking about funding cliff. Is that it?
Yes. So our ESSER funds are coming up to, we've already seen the expiration of several of them, and coming up in this September, our biggest ESSER funding source, which is ESSER 3, will go away. And so we're trying to prepare for that. ESSER funds have provided quite a bit of revenue over the last few years. That money came to us in a variety of different PRCs, which is a program report code. And some of those were very restrictive as to how you could spend the money. For instance, some of the money came in and you had to use it on summer school, summer learning. ESSER 3 has been pretty flexible as long as you can relate it back to COVID. So what we're looking at is what kind of cuts do we need to make as this money comes to a close. We are using over $2 million in ESSER money towards HVAC projects that we would have had to gone to the county commissioners for. We also used it to pay over $1.7 million in retention bonuses. That was a couple years ago. And let's see. Looking at the notes. We're projecting that we will probably need to cut about $5.5 million just because that's what we're using in ESSER this year for salaries.
So 74% of the funds were spent on salaries. Was that all for new positions, or is that supplementing existing positions? How did that?
Both. Because we did pay some bonuses because of the teachers having to teach through that.
And
Right.
salaries would be part
And
of
salaries for the
that.
new positions that are going away as y'all review them each time when it comes over. So it's a combination of those.
So do we have a breakdown of what are positions that were added that we'll be looking to have to find a funding source for those?
Well, I don't have it in this,
But
yeah.
that's available, okay.
Well, during COVID, when we went into ESSER, we sat down with all of our directors, we took out our strategic plan, and we said, okay, what's important? We looked to see, because we had to develop a local plan to spend the money. And we felt like, and I go back to pre-COVID, our kids during COVID needed more time with more teachers. And so we did hire a lot of additional teachers to lower class size, tutoring. We gave a TA interventionist to all the middle schools and the elementary, so that was 15 additional teacher assistants. And I think we ended up paying 16 additional teaching positions from ESSER. We also added curriculum coaches. We also added a couple positions here at the central office, one to take care of HR and licensure because we were up to our necks in really just paperwork because all these extra positions. We got a separate grant. We hired nurse assistants at all the schools. And so that, just processing all that paperwork across the district. On the curriculum side, we were trying to help students, and principals were managing the buildings, just trying to get them open to back up. And so we've never had curriculum support. Many of our other neighboring districts have a full-time curriculum person per school. We've never had that because we just don't have the funding. We're funded 100th in the state out of 115, so we just don't have the funding. So long story short, that's where the funds are spent. And I think this ESSER spending profile, if you click on that hyperlink, kind of gives you a visual to kind of help see where that money was spent.
Now, you'll have to, on the drop down, go down to Surrey County Schools.
Oh, it's on elements, yeah.
Yeah, it wouldn't let me leave it.
Well, that's good because you can compare us to some of our neighboring districts to see, to just see how our spending looks in comparison, some that you're more familiar with. Audra, is there any highlights you want to share on this spending profile?
If you scroll down about halfway, you'll see where it says salary and benefit expenditure trends, and it will show you where the majority of the funds, what positions it was going towards. So you can see teachers is the highest by, landslide. So you've got teachers and teacher assistants, and then instructional support, along with instructional facilitators and tutorial pay. Those are going to be your highest position category for putting a lot of that money. But teachers by far is where a lot of the money has been going.
Teacher assistants.
And just to kind of give you an idea, our federal funds account for about 12% of our budget. And then ESSER funds is 7.6%. Our local budget is only about 11.9%. So between federal and ESSER, that budget is higher than our local budget. But once these ESSER funds go away.
So it's showing on this here, the expenditures and trends. 2020, there were 728 on staff, and it's down 25% to now 540. Is that right? Showing enrollment down 2% and classroom teachers down 25%.
From 2020, but it's up. The graphs aren't in the right way.
Yeah. So is that through attrition?
I can't believe we can be 180 teachers down.
That's what I'm saying, I mean, it can't be right, sure.
I don't think we've ever had 728 teachers.
No, we haven't. Not in my time.
I don't know how they're,
I don't know.
And I don't know what
how
they're counting as
they
teacher too
Right.
in this. Yeah, but we don't have that many classroom teachers.
if anything, with the money,
And instructional and everything.
if anything, with the money we've spent on teachers and teacher assistants, I would expect that graph to be just the opposite.
Right.
Maybe not 25%, but
Am I understanding this is Alamance Burlington, right? This ain't.
So you click and you go to Surrey County.
Look at the top up there, you see Alamance in a real small fine print.
Oh,
You
yeah.
click on
okay.
that, you can change
I
it to
thought,
Surrey.
man, that,
you see you drop down. But we can give a little bit more clarification on that to understand what they're counting there.
Yeah, so
Recommend staff.
that's gotta be teaching, teacher assistants, instructional support, facilitators, tutors. I'd say all of it maybe.
Yeah, it's showing that there's 25% loss.
Yeah, because they're saying right now we're at 540. There's no way, we're closer to 600, aren't we now? If it was just teachers.
Oh, it's just teachers, yeah. Never 728.
So once again, sometimes you
I
say,
wonder if, I bet there was some coding errors.
Ought to be.
Maybe counting like summer school pay,
Could be.
where that was coded to teacher pay instead of like a tutor pay.
Right.
I bet some of that could.
And most of those were existing teachers just working in the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know,
Just as a comparison, Wilkes County has 598 teachers.
Yeah, it's gotta be
We
good.
don't have 725.
No. No, we just-
Wilkes is larger than us and has a bigger budget.
So I will just say this because there's stuff flying around out there during 19, 20, 21, that we took the steps we took to protect our kids because of all the money they promised us. Not one time, and Mr. Goins can back me up, I hope, on this, not one time in a discussion on this board was money ever discussed about getting money from the federal government or state government because of the steps we were taking. So when you hear that out there running around in the community, it's just a lie. It's all, it's just somebody making something up to get headlines. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
all right, I'm gonna move along since we're, so topic 3 is, our capital funds. We are funded at $115 a student, which equates to about $804,000. And looking at our maintenance budget earlier today, it won't take much to eat that up. For this fiscal year, we got 1.1 million in special projects. I don't have those listed, but I can give them to you. There's just a couple of things. Hold on, I've got that right here.
From the county, right?
Mhm.
So when you add the 2.1 that we got from ESSER, we're looking at about 3.2 million that we were able to spend in the last 18 months on that type of project, replacing chillers.
We received $600,000 for roofing projects, $250,000 for fire alarm replacements, and $215,000 for paving projects. And then $35,000 for the mobile unit lease payments, but we've been receiving that money for a while.
And the 600, wasn't that the second half of the central middle roof? Because it was more than we could get in 1 year, so we split it into 2 years.
And that money came out of our lottery monies for the central middle roof. There we see public school PSBCF, Public School Building Capital Fund, $740,000.
And there's the
That's for the
2
central middle school roof.
Yeah.
That came out of the lottery funds. And then the $700,000 for Copeland and Flat Rock came out of those same lottery funds, I believe.
I verified that directly with the county.
Okay.
We also have, we received what we call SCS funds. That is for athletic improvements. We are spending that money, so that money came in last year, so we don't have 1.7 million anymore, but, they are working on getting those projects done. We're getting ready to do an amended scope of work, so that we can move some money around that they had left over and get that money spent, hopefully by this summer.
Was there a deadline on having those funds spent?
No. No, and those monies were directly given to us by the General Assembly.
Right.
So, 1.75, when Robert comes in, he's gonna talk about where he's at on completion of those special projects. So if you think about what you just said, between ESSER, 2 million, plus the million that the county commissioners appropriated, plus the 1.75 from the General Assembly, plus the monies we're getting for the turf fields, there's a lot of funds coming in that Robert's been managing, and he'll go through that in detail, but that just kind of puts it in a bigger picture for you.
What was that money we got, we split up, tried to split up between the two high schools?
That's the SCS.
That 1.75 is SCIF money, and, you know, the board wanted to spread that out equally with the middle schools So each middle school got 70,000 and each high school got right at 480,000. And we've done a lot of little projects with that money. And we're still working on those little projects, and you'll see that on Robert's list.
I'm trying to do a match fundraising type thing to add with that skip fund.
We did use, for the middle schools, we allocated $10,000 as a booster match to incentivize our boosters to raise $10,000. We would match it with the SCIF funds, and with our high schools, it was $50,000. So that was just a way for the schools to incentivize those boosters. And so I met with each booster club and kind of went through that, and we've seen some fundraising come out of that in addition to those funds from the general segment.
And while there were some projects that you identified that, like, for example, all 3 high schools needed, you let the principals and the athletic directors make a decision on where a lot of that money was spent.
And each school's got a little bit different needs. So,
But we are having to stick to the plan. I have to submit every invoice that's paid to a portal thing with the Office of State Budget Management, and they are reviewing it. I've had to go in and explain, they're looking at every penny that we've spent
So we
and
need to
matching
change
it back to the scope of work. So that's why we're gonna get that back in line so that they can get some money spent that they had left over on some other needs.
the money was intended for repair and renovation of athletic facilities only. That was the stipulation. Wasn't very specific, but repair and renovation. So we submitted the plan, they had to approve it. So it's been a process, one that we're very grateful to have those funds, and hope that there's future funds on the way.
We also have some capital outlay fund balance, and then the balance of our public school building capital funds is listed there, along with the expenditures that are eligible and not eligible. I'm not gonna read them to you if you have any questions, just for the sake of time.
So the 2.462, is that the lottery money?
That's what it was last week, yes. That's already taken off the money for the roof and the gyms. We also have, did you say something?
No, I was gonna ask, so is that apt to go up, being the sports betting thing was approved and so forth?
We won't get any extra money for it.
And then we also have the public school building repair and renovation funds. The dollar amount that we have, it's listed there. We haven't used any of that money yet, but it's the same process as using the lottery funds.
So we put those 3 totals in yellow, just to kind of highlight them. So the capital fund balance is total flexible money. Okay? The public school capital funds of 2.4 million, there, you see the eligible, I think those can be used on school buildings, but not on, no, I'm sorry, you could use, well, I won't get into the details, but it lists some of those. One can be used for parking lots, athletic fields, playgrounds. One can only be used for classroom buildings. So there is a little difference between that and the 694 for the repair and renovation. So again, Robert's going to come in and give you some ideas, potentially, of where we go with some of these funds when you see some of the needs. So I'm just wanting to highlight that.
And the capital fund balance includes our current year per pupil. So that's the money they pull from when they make some of these minor repairs at the schools. So just keep that in mind.
And didn't we have to make up some of the Copeland and Flat Rock gym projects out of one of those 2? Because we had budgeted 700 from the capital
That's the
commissioners. And it was
700,000.
1.1. So we had $400,000 to make up from somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've done something of that since we've been on the board.
Yeah, it was, matter of fact, I think we were riding back from Raleigh when we talked about it.
I think it came out of that fund balance.
Yeah, either the capital fund or the renovation.
It came out of the capital.
Okay, so topic 4 is our other budget needs. A lot of these items are things we're hearing from the schools, directors, in our budget meetings, as well as things that we've been using ESSER funds to pay for that we need to think about as we prepare our budget for next year and decide on what we need to ask for from the county commissioners. School resource officers is a hot topic. Curriculum support, which will be your curriculum facilitators. A supplement increase, graduation coaches, local vehicles, a minibus has been mentioned. Safety vestibules, I think that's at some of the elementary schools where when you walk in the building, you're not in the office. This would be sort of so they have to go in the office instead of them walking in and they're right in the hallway. Did I describe that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
A middle school ag teacher, that would be adding a middle school ag teacher. The high school tracks, technology, we've used some ESSER money in the past for some technology items. We're also, doing some of these interactive panels, we're using some capital outlay money. So we've gotta make sure we put that in the budget every year because we kind of got that on a cycle.
And Lucas specifically has identified our servers, our
Yes.
main servers are almost 10 years, 12 years old and are needing repair. So it's about $100,000. So all those are located in the server room down at the TLC. So again, these are items that could be potential county commissioner requests as a special appropriation. Some could be taken out of some of the funds we just talked about. Others, again, just trying to give you ideas of these are needs. And we've not finished all of our budget meetings. We've still got about half of our directors to go. One of which is child nutrition, and kitchens are always mentioned, and I can promise you she's going to talk about the kitchen at Surrey Central High School, East Surrey High School being undersized and in need of major renovation, as you well know.
Are these prioritized?
No.
The high
This is
school
really
tracks, isn't
early.
that part of the athletic fields and tracks?
But what we have found, looking at the history of the fields that these companies have done that we're looking at evaluating, we're not gonna get three football fields and 3 tracks done for the money we got. It's just not gonna happen. So we're gonna have to find out where's the other money come from if we do, or do we prioritize the tracks to figure out which 2 get it, which one doesn't, or vice versa.
I think, we're right in the middle of this. We're probably gonna have to make a decision, I would say, in March or April on tracks. If we come in and the amounts are above what we have been given by the General Assembly, do we try to find monies to finish it? Because by doing this with these other 2 school systems, we believe we're gonna get at least a 10% discount, which is, that could be one whole track. I mean, whether you get one or not. So, I do think there's some cost savings doing it together with these other school systems, but that budget decision may not, I don't think you can make that in May or June. I think that ship will have sailed. We will have to make that budget decision earlier, probably late February, March. That's gonna be something that's a little earlier than we will have in this major discussion. And again, that may be something we have to talk with our commissioners, and Senator Settle, and Representative Stevens, and, the short session's coming up in April. So again, I put it on there just knowing it's going to be something, could be something, hopefully it won't come up, but worst case scenario, it could.
Or did they not sort of anticipate the cost being, or the funds being sufficient to put a track and a football field with the monies that were appropriated?
That's what we're right in the middle of.
I'm not sure where they got those numbers from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you base it on the history of the other schools that have been done, multiply it times 3,
I think their intent was, let's get the track and football fields there, and not so much the money. We're not so much, we're gonna allocate so much money and see what it'll accomplish, but it was to place those fields and tracks.
and really, for us to make August 1st deadline for the football teams to be able to play this year, we really got to have them working in late February, early March, or it's not going to happen. So that's when we decide on the budget, we've got to know by then. We can't wait until commissioners decide, what their budget will be.
Especially when you got, what, 9 fields?
Yeah,
Yeah, 4, 3, and 2.
yeah.
So does that answer your question? It's a jumble until we figure out how to do that now. And some money, I think, was included in SCIF, but not enough to make this.
One of our high schools has saved $150,000. Their track's a priority.
What are, with your all's initial talks with them, what is the guesstimate of the shortage
Think,
total?
well, we've not talked numbers. I can just go on what other schools have paid, but those other schools are not getting a 9-field discount. I think Allegheny spent 1.4.
Times 3.
But that was on their own.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, North Iredale spent over 3,
And we have how much?
3.75.
1.25.
Yeah. So it's gonna be,
Close.
it's gonna be close for us. And the other thing, and Robert will tell you this, that's without not knowing what's underneath the soil.
Yeah.
If you run into problems, you got contingencies, and Robert seems to believe at 2 of our high schools, the track, we're gonna have to go down to the subsoil and build back. So that'll probably be that'll jack the price up on those 2 tracks.
And the clay we've got around here doesn't drain well, and all 3 of them will have it, but I got a feeling that North Surrey would be one of the worst. But it's gonna have sediment too, because it's on the river, on the creek.
If we can't afford, if it is astronomical, are we still allowed just to do the football fields and not do the tracks with those funds? And then just give back whatever we didn't use if we didn't use it all for the football fields?
Or we could do the 3 football fields in 1 track. I know.
Well, I ain't choosing that.
No. But
I ain't choosing
that's
that.
where I think we gotta go back and then look at skip money, go back to the commissioners and say it's equitable that all, right now, let's face it, only one of our 3 tracks in the high school right now are really at the quality that they can host a track meet above conference level, and that's Surrey Central. The other 2 aren't adequate. So do we try to make it the best we can make it and everybody use it? There's a lot of decisions that have to be made there about what we go forward with.
And we're right in the middle of this thing, and it's getting ready to get kicked up even higher. So I'll be back to the board with some really thinking about future decisions and where we go with the tracks is something to discuss. And regardless of the turf, the tracks is something we're gonna have to, it's been on our long-range plan to fix. And so that's something we're gonna have to fix anyway. And Robert's had plans, and we've identified it. And in fact, that's when Senator Settle called, that was one of the things we talked about was upgrading these tracks. So I think that's how the ball got started rolling and turned into turf and track, so.
And potentially, Robert and I met with one of these contractors 2 years out, planning to go at Surrey Central. And just to give you a perspective, the top of the line product could take $700,000 just to redo the 1 track. So that's 2.1 out of the 3.75 right there. So that's what I'm saying, we're gonna have to make some tough decisions on how to go. That's taking it to asphalt and then coming back with the surface on top of that.
And I don't think any of our folks expect the top of the line. But another reason to bid this with 2 other school systems to help us, I think it's going to help us more than, as much or more than anybody else, because we got the least amount of money out of all 3 districts. And the others have some leisure projects that we don't have, and so we can be thankful for that, because, you know, a few years ago, we replaced the bleachers at East Surrey High School, and that was $600,000. 5, 6, 7 years ago, it'd be way over $1 million now.
You know, we did the money we got from COVID to provide bonuses. Everybody got that, correct? It was prorated based on what we did that 2 years ago.
I wasn't here, but I think so.
Talk about the retention.
Yes. Yeah, but it's not every year. That was a one or two time deal, I believe.
You're right. And I think that
Have the
was,
funds to do that?
Well, that's part of what we got left over.
You're talking about, that's the 200,000 that you were talking about.
Yeah.
We got to decide what to do with that, yeah.
I'd like to see, you know, let's do something for maintenance and bus garage and cafeteria that don't get anything out of what we're talking on the other bonuses.
we'll put that on the February work session agenda to discuss and give you some options. All right, anything else for Ms. Chilton?
Thank you, ma'am.
Look at here, we're getting you out of here before 7 o'clock like last time.
Good time to take 5.
That's right.
You want to take a break?
5 minutes.
Okay.
You are.
Never mind. Ready to get started back? Mr. Drone, where are we gonna spend all our special project money at?
About 2.5 pages worth. So I think you got a copy of this in your, on your computer. So we'll go through the ESSER stuff first. Whenever we were talking ESSER funding, we were appropriated $2 million for HVAC capital improvements. We submitted a list to the previous board and for approval. And so the items that you see listed here are projects that have been bid and are in the works. So we have chiller replacements at Cedar Ridge, Franklin, Pilot Elementary, Copeland, Gentry, and Meadowview and Flat Rock, and then we have already completed one at Central Middle School, which is not listed on here because it was right at the beginning of the ESSER funding. Cedar Ridge is just about finished up. Franklin, the chiller has been set and they're making the tie-ins and stuff on it right now, and that also stands true for Pilot Elementary. Right now, Copeland, Gentry, and Meadowview are scheduled to come in sometime this spring. Projections are end of April, 1st of May. So we'll easily meet the deadline of having those in by September. We're also doing a couple of boiler replacements with ESSER funds, one being at Copeland Elementary for the gym building, the second being the 1950s building at Flat Rock, which houses the cafeteria and kitchen. And at the same time, Frontier has agreed to extend the natural gas line from the quarry to the school. So we will also be doing a natural gas conversion there with the ESSER funds of the other two boilers and hot water heaters.
Which long term with fuel costs should help us with efficiency, right? Because natural gas is going to be cheaper.
We have seen a great savings by going to natural gas, yes. One right now that we're waiting on to go to bid with is Pilot Elementary. In the 1970s building, the chill water piping insulation is failing. We're getting having a lot of issues with it. So we have Matthew Ward with the Department of Public Instruction is currently working on that bid packet, and he was actually here on Friday checking on some of these other projects, and he said he would have that ready to go to bid 1st of February. So we'll know at that time how much that project is going to cost, and if we will have any additional ESSER funds to do other projects with that were previously approved. So right now, we're sitting on about 500,000 that hasn't been spent of the 2 million. And we're just waiting on that pilot elementary project because we expect it's gonna be a three to 400,000. Because we gotta take ceilings out, lighting out, everything to get to the pipe work and the insulation. So it's gonna be a pretty major overhaul of the 70s building. Almost every classroom is affected by it, some form or fashion, so.
To this summer.
Yes. So are there any questions about the ESSER funding?
Funds have to be completely spent, I mean.
They have to be appropriated by September, and they have to be completely spent and projects done by December 31st.
Okay. Yeah, we are.
And currently right now, I don't have any concerns about not being able to meet those deadlines.
And we ordered some of these chillers, I think you said the lead time was about 42 weeks, so we had to
Oh,
order some last year.
They were, a lot of them were nearly a year out. But that's getting better. That's, right now is about it's down to about 9 months. So it is getting better.
Progress.
So the next item on the list is, of course, the North Surrey Safety Loop Extension. Working with the engineer on that, spoke to Mr. Heath earlier. At the end of last week, they have gotten their aerial survey back, and now they're actually starting the actual field work and locating utilities and things such as that to get those on the survey. So that's coming along. Any questions related to it? The next two items are items that were funded by the Board of County Commissioners in the 22-23 fiscal year. The conversion of Franklin and North Surrey to natural gas. And we're in the process of wrapping both of those up and getting final inspections. So part of that money was appropriated from the Board of Commissioners, and then the remaining balance was approved by the previous board from fund balance, if I remember correctly. So we had right at $100,000 appropriated from the Board of Commissioners, and we were about 75 to 77,000 over budget. So.
And that was to replace the equipment to be converted to natural gas, because what we had was all fuel oil.
Correct, yep. So we converted 2 boilers and 3 hot water heaters at Franklin, and then 2 boilers and 2 water heaters at North Surrey, 3 boilers, because the main plant has 2, and then the old new wing has 1, so. So that was money from the Board of Commissioners and then some of our own money within the district. The next item is North Surrey. This is part of the athletic money, grant money that was given to us by the General Assembly. This was one of the things that was a high priority for North Surrey, was the conversion of the concession storage building down at the baseball and softball complex to restrooms. So we are in the process of that right now. We have the underground plumbing has been installed and passed inspection. We've got the new door frames cut in. All your interior wall is framed up and ready and plumbing's passed, so we're moving forward with that. All the masonry materials are there, just waiting for the temperatures to work with us on closing up some doorways in the garage area to make that come together, so. Anticipate that project being somewhere in the $60,000 to $65,000 range. Any questions?
Thank goodness, that's all I can say. I've been trying for that for 5 years.
Next project, again, is part of the athletic grant money, and it's at East Surrey High School. We're totally redoing the backstop on the softball field, along with the dugouts, some ADA accessibility, that type stuff. That's moving along pretty well. We're struggling a little bit with, of course, with the temperatures the last week or so and getting some footings in and poured, but all the demolition's complete, footings have been dug, and so we should start seeing some masonry work take place as soon as temperatures get up a little bit toward the end of the week. Any questions there? So we got a couple, each year when we go to the budget planning stage, we typically try to include some roofing funds to the Board of Commissioners. So this budget year, we received funding for Surrey Central's re-roofing of the 4th Hall, as well as at Flat Rock Elementary, the re-roofing of the 1996 office building. So both of those have been bid and approved, and we are anticipating a March start date on both of those due to we didn't want to get started on them too soon and have to deal with the potential of ice and snow. And also the fire alarm and replacements, we requested funding from the commissioners to replace several of the outdated fire alarm control panels, that the components were becoming obsolete and very difficult to find, and so they allowed us $200,000 for that. You can see the schools listed there that we will be upgrading those panels to and bring those systems up to today's standards. Another athletic grant is the North Surrey development of the practice field at North Surrey. So this it's kind of, we needed to get water down there to serve two things, actually, to serve the new bathroom facility as well as the irrigation of the practice field. So that is almost complete. The water is there. We're just waiting on the landscape company to come in and install the irrigation system on the practice field.
So the irrigation system is why you need a 2-inch line? Is that-
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, because all we had down there feeding that lower level was a 1-inch water line, and it was serving the irrigation of the baseball field, excuse me, the barn, the agriculture barn, so it wouldn't have supported, actually the irrigation for the baseball suffered pretty bad. It just didn't have enough pressure, so.
Well, and you had to have it for the bathrooms too.
Yep. Yeah, so we came off the field house gym and put a 2-inch line all the way down to the bottom of the hill, then teed off and went to the track and to the bathroom facility. So we'll have adequate water and pressure and everything to serve whatever we need to serve down there. J. Sam Gentry, we're redoing the dugouts on the baseball and softball field. They were cinder block and very small, so we took those out, and we're going to put in larger chain link type dugouts with a typical metal roof on them. Kind of like I'm sure you've seen what some of the other high schools have got them at most places. The last item is, of course, our tracks and athletic turf for the football fields and hopefully track money. That was part of the General Assembly. I know y'all probably already discussed that some today, but so I just wanted you to kind of see the different pots of money that we've been, dealing with and working towards getting these projects complete. Is there any questions about any of those projects that are here?
So those we don't need to worry about for coming up. These are ones that have been approved and already been.
Yes, sir.
Okay, gotcha.
So some future projects, wanted to bring to you guys and have discussion on, if need to be, is a big request from most of the schools and part of our district evaluation is safety vestibules. In especially our elementary schools, and middle, I think there's one middle school maybe that doesn't have it, but and our high schools as well. So wanted to get the board's input and see what you thought about trying to develop and install some safety vestibules in these schools. Maybe starting with our elementary and getting those completed first, just using like storefront. Dr. Reeves and I was down at Page High School looking at their artificial turf field, and they had a real nice storefront type system that separated and forced you to go into the office before you could, enter the hallway and go into the main part of the school. So that got us kind of thinking that this would be a great approach for us to look at the possibility of creating some safety vestibules in our schools. So
We did put that on our safety grant. We haven't heard it. We don't know if we got it or didn't get it. No, I don't.
Still no news on it?
No, I emailed earlier and they said they're still waiting for approval.
If you look at the monies we talked about in those tabs that Audra had, I do believe there's some money there in our capital fund balance you could spend on safety vestibules. I also believe that R&R money, the repair and renovation, got $700,000 there, could be spent on safety vestibules. That's an allowable expense. And so when we talk about a safety vestibule, it's kind of like the one you've got out here where you just put up a storefront and you're rerouting traffic. It could mean cutting a hole in a concrete wall, reinforcing your header. I think it would be pretty easy at Shoals, Westfield, and Cedar Ridge, because you kind of have a natural awning there. You just basically be cutting out a hole in the wall. Robert mentioned Page. He's got phase 1 on here being elementary schools, but phase 2 could be our middle and high schools if we looked at this as a 2 or 3 year plan. Again, thinking about this long term, not exactly sure what that would cost, but Robert thinks that we could do it fairly economically if we use the storefront approach and use existing structures that we already have to create this. There would be some construction costs, but it could be fairly minimal. Because we're really not talking about building something, we're just kind of enclosing what we already have. And that's exactly what they did at Page High Schools. If you think about all 3 high schools, we've got double doors. We could create one set of doors that would go into the office and another set that would go into the main building.
How would you do it like Central Middle School and Meadowview, where their office is set back so far inside?
that one would be challenging.
That's a trip.
Gentry would be as well. Gentry would be a challenge too. Well, really all of them. I mean, you think about Meadowview the same way. You got a long stretch to get to the office area there.
We feel, we've asked for money to renovate. I guess we have, so we can hope to get one.
Yeah.
I guess some of the money can be used for other forms of high school, include that in the project.
Yes, sir. You're exactly right. So the high schools could be pushed down.
Do the elementary first.
I kind of look at this like what I saw at Page High School is you're building a temporary wall. And I think about at North Surrey and East Surrey, as soon as you come into the school, you've got the cafeteria. And even the principal at Page said he had had situations where parents had come in and would go straight into the cafeteria. I mean, the access is so easy. If you were to have a situation, somebody's upset with another student, maybe an adult, they can go into the cafeteria really quick at these high schools. Surrey Central's a bit of a walk. The other two are not. So it's, if we don't get those grants, I think it's something we need to look at the high schools pretty quickly.
And the other 5 elementary already have some type of safety vest. Okay, good.
You say 5?
Yeah, there's 6 here, so.
Well, we created, when we did phase 1, we created Dobson, Franklin, and Mountain Park.
Yeah.
We created, and then we've already got it at Rockford, has got a safety vestibule. So,
Copeland.
no,
No, but it's an easy fix for Copeland.
6.
Okay.
And I could have missed one. I was just going through them in my head thinking that,
And it's not a security issue, but we've discussed it a little bit before in the last few years, canopies at these elementaries where they have car riders drop off, pick up. It's some of those places where the doors are so far from the parking lot, those kids had to run in the rain or getting out. So that.
and that's always a budget request that we hear very often from the schools, but those are also big, expensive,
Yeah.
projects. Look at North Surrey, we just did that replacement of that canopy there, and it was $300 and some thousand, so.
But as you're doing renovations like at Mountain Park and at Franklin, you put in
Absolutely.
the money, so they're there.
Yeah, that was convenient to address those.
And Dobson, I guess, too. They don't have to do.
No, I think you got Bayou Engineer now. So as we're thinking about special requests to the county commissioners, Robert has listed future projects. There's, a couple of roofing projects there.
Yeah, and we really need to stay the course on these roofs and trying to tackle at least 2 to 3 a year. Because they are, we've still got several that are over 30 years old that are EPDM membrane roofs, and they're starting to fail rapidly, especially when you start having drastic temperature changes like we've experienced this fall. We've already had to go to Copeland and do a couple of major emergency repairs on the Grand Building. Surrey Central's varsity gym last week or week before last, same thing. Had a section of it just ripped wide open. So we really need to stay the course on the roof and keep that going forward. And these are just the 2 that I have listed here are just the 2 that's kind of came to the surface in the last month or so that really needs to be addressed. And they would probably be at the top of my list right now if I had to go. The field houses, all 3 of our field houses have not been roofed since in the 80s. So those are going to be at the top of the list as well.
So those are 40 years then.
Yep. The next item is just something that I personally feel like we need to continue to do, and that is as we transition and convert to natural gas, we need to get these underground storage tanks out of the ground and get the liability off of us, with the potential for, contaminated soil or whatever be the case. 2 years ago, I think it is, they gave us funding, the Board of Commissioners provided us funding to remove the 3 tanks at Central Middle School. So we were able to remove those. So right now, we're looking at, with and we also removed Dobson Elementary and Mountain Park with the Phase 1 renovations. So we've got 3 tanks at Franklin, we got 2 tanks at North Surrey, and 1 at Surrey Central High School. Now your options, when it comes to UST, you've got 3 options, I guess, or whatever. You can continue to pay the permit fee every year, which is what we've chosen to do. Your second option is to fill those tanks with some type of ingredient such as sand, a slurry, foam, whatever be the case, but that tank's always there and that risk is always there. Plus, if you ever do any construction and you need to work in that site, then you've got a tank full of concrete or sand or whatever to deal with. Or you can totally remove it, which is, in my opinion, the best approach for us to do. Now, these high school tanks that have been in there since 1971, I would strongly recommend doing some geotechnical testing around those tanks before we tackle it to kind of know what we're looking at. Is there contamination there?
We were talking about this the other day. You want to tell the board the issue at Dobson when they were taking those tanks out and what you said you were scared of?
So when we got the Phase 1 funding, part of the construction of the breezeway and the kitchen expansion, there was a fuel tank there that we had to remove. So as they started removing that tank, they started getting some contamination. And they ended up digging almost to the gymnasium, the corner of the gym that's kind of facing the street that's on the maintenance shop side. And I was starting to get real nervous because I was afraid they were going to have to start undermining the gym. But they finally got clean samples and we were able to avoid that. But so there's...
The longer we leave them there, the more of a chance of that happening.
Yeah, and we pumped them out, we pumped them as dry as we can get them. But still, it's like a bird chirping. Quit touching that thing. But-
That's what it was kind of.
So that was me, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just something that you may want to consider, because right now we're spending probably somewhere around $3,500 a year on permits.
For tanks we're not using.
Right. So,
What does that permit do? Just allow you to have it there?
yeah, it's a non-regulated, fuel oil for heating purposes is considered non-regulated. So it's not like a tank that has gasoline in it or, you don't have to have cathodic protection on it. You don't have to have monitoring, leak detection and all that like we do with our gasoline and diesel fuel for the buses, tanks. So you really don't know, especially with that age. The newer tanks are double wall, double line, fiberglass. These are the old steel tanks, that 20,000 gallon. So that's why I would recommend, and I've spoken with SNME about this, and they can come out and do the spot drills around the tank. And pretty much you can tell if you've got any contamination, because most likely it's going to migrate out from under the tank and out into the soil around it. So if you can get clean bores around the tank, then you're probably going to be in pretty good shape.
So if they find something, all that soil's gotta be removed.
Yes, sir. Till they get clean soil. Has to be dug out and hauled to a
Soul farm.
yeah, they run it through all this different stuff to clean it up.
It's not cheap.
But I just think it would be better for us to know going into it, if we got it or we don't have it, then at least, we can apply to the trust fund. The state has a trust fund for that. And then, we would apply to the trust fund, and then we might also need to go to the Board of Commissioners and ask for more money.
Well, it looks like something that don't need to keep down the road. Could just be worse.
Well, we've asked for Surrey Central before and was turned down in our budget request, but, we did get funding for the central middle tanks, so.
Any idea what it would cost us to have those borings done to see what,
Yes, sir.
we just want to go ahead and do it?
Yes, sir. It'd be about $7,500 per school.
Or school? Because if we could go to the commissioners and say, we've done the borings and we know there's a leak there, maybe that would move it up on their priority list. But then again, we're gonna have to come up with $7,500 to do the
Yes,
test.
sir. There was some discussion about the possibility of adding a loading dock to Flat Rock Elementary's kitchen. So wanted to talk, see if there was any discussion about that. The only thing that concerns me about that is that doorway is so low that a loading dock really is not going to be it's going to be difficult for trucks to unload there because your dock's going to be so low. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I saw that.
And you're kind of tight back there with space anyway.
If you moved it out any, there's nowhere for the truck to back up to. Is there?
So I don't know, it's just whatever the board wants me to do, but I just think it would be a difficult, you can't excavate and lower the driveway to accommodate the trucks, being able to be more level with the dock like you typically would be at a loading dock.
That's something we need to think about, if that's something we want to add as a,
That came up from a call from a couple of the delivery guys, saying that it was dangerous for them to have to come down the ramp actually in through the door. And slip
Right.
off the ground if they fell off the side. And that's what I'm wondering, are we gonna take the responsibility for them falling off the side of a?
Well, what if we just put a porch, like extend that, right now there's just a set of steps
That's correct.
that goes up into the door, which used to be an open air can wash. And years ago, the child nutrition department closed them in and made them a closed in can wash. So what if we just went there and built a concrete porch to give them more room when they come off of the ramp down onto a porch
I think that's
instead of it being a loading dock?
Yeah, well, that was the request.
You know what I'm
They
saying?
were saying having to shoot their ramp off the back of the truck through the door was what was, it was just so uncomfortable, and said when the guys would see it, that they were on the schedule, they just tried to avoid that one, so, again, I just brought it up because it was some phone calls made. So.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty minimal cost to
Yeah.
do a concrete porch right there.
Yeah, that would be it'd be a good way of helping out the delivery driver, having some additional room, and we could put a handrail around it
That's right.
to make sure that, when they come down, they did get wobbly, they wouldn't go off the side of it. But,
Exactly.
I mean, I'd be happy to look into that and get some pricing and come back to the board, and y'all can make that decision or whatever.
well, it would also help our maintenance people right that are making the drive-in deliveries you talked about a little earlier. They're coming in through the same door.
It is.
I don't know I don't know what the distance is between that loading dock and the turnaround area. Does it present an issue with the truck backing up? Because isn't there an island where cars are parking just on the other side?
Well, there's an island on one side, and then there's the freezer cooler. There's an outside freezer cooler unit that's on one side of it, so it's very limited.
Yeah. We got,
I mean,
I'll take that into account.
yeah, you have to be a pretty good driver to make that. When you come around, you gotta make that turn and then get straight and back up, and
If they deliver with 18-wheelers, or are they just smaller delivery trucks?
Well, mostly US Foods, they are they pull the smaller trailer, but it is a big road tractor with a smaller trailer. Of course, ours and the milk truck is just a, 16-foot box truck, lift gate, that type thing. But I'll be happy to do some more research into that and come back to the board with the cost.
I think you do have a little bit of a risky situation the way it is now, as far as in.
The
Maybe
discussion,
we could just help it and make them feel more comfortable.
Oh,
with
absolutely.
the extra room.
Yeah.
they even asked, would we consider widening the door, which I didn't, that's not something that maybe if it was a double door instead of a single door, because I don't know whether we have the room to do that or not, but that was one of the questions asked.
Well, right now, it's just a typical 3-foot door.
Right.
And to be honest with you, the last time I was in that Chem Wash area, you could barely turn around. I mean, you just come in the door and go straight into the kitchen because, they had so many cleaning supplies and mop buckets and all that, it's just a very, very tight area.
Was that the only access point for delivery?
Yes, sir. Unless you go around, and come in one of the doors like a student would.
I think Sherry Parks, we talked about it, she said some of her delivery drivers actually roll their hand trucks around on the concrete sidewalks and come in that door. By that tree you and I looked at, I think there's a double door there. Some of her delivery drivers just do that.
The one we're cutting down? I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
So we can look at some options there.
Okay, I think that's a good idea. Be good with everybody.
Another item I wanted to discuss with the board is our furniture, the potential to create some type of furniture budget on an annual basis for our district. We really haven't had a furniture budget since 2009 when we constructed Rockford and Pilot Mountain Middle School. So a lot of the majority of our furniture in our schools is aging and getting in bad shape, and it's not collaborative. It's not good for collaboration of the students and stuff, so. And that is another item that each year at budget meetings, we get just hammered on, we need this, we need new furniture, and they have a legitimate request because mostly if you'll come and tour my warehouse, you will understand our dire straits on furniture because we are poor, terrible. Got some stuff, but overall we're really in bad shape. So just something I wanted to kind of plant a seed with.
You're talking about your warehouse where you've taken.
Yeah, where we have our, what little bit of furniture that we do have for surplus it's, you can kind of see, I guess, what I'm talking about, the condition of it. It's just worn slap out.
Are they mostly asking for furniture for classrooms?
Classrooms, media centers are the two hottest items.
Once in a while, a cafeteria.
Principals really like, and media specialists, they like the furniture that you can move around and you can create when he says collaborative, where you can bring several kids around one table and work together. See that in some of our classrooms. We did several years ago for the middle and high schools, we added some tables that are on, have casters so the teachers can create some different learning spaces. With the kids having laptops, those are really hard to set up on a student desk that was angled, and you couldn't get a notebook and a laptop on the desk without one or the other falling out. And some of those desks were, we have some pretty, I don't know the average size person that can fit in one of those desks, but I mean, some of them, they just aren't large enough.
Well, the brackets were breaking.
Yeah.
the basket underneath, you know, the old book basket for you, a lot of those are missing. Pretty rough, pretty rough.
So,
And I've been here for 24 years, and it's, you know, they've been here, a lot of the stuff probably was here when I was in school. A lot of the tables and stuff, I wouldn't doubt very much.
Stuff was built to last.
Yeah, I mean, it's good quality, but I mean, it's just, its lifespan is here.
You
I
were in school
saw
24 years
I saw
ago?
RD card on my desk.
I went to school, I graduated in 1982.
No, I said you were in school 24 years ago. I was in.
Oh, no, I've been here in this position for 24 years.
You're not old, I graduated the year before you did, Roger.
Did you?
Yeah. I do agree, because having been in a high school and seeing some of the furniture we've got, I agree, we need to think about that. And it's not something I think we need to put on the schools to take care of. I think as a system, we should help.
And I know $100,000 sounds like a lot of money, but when you're talking about furniture, I mean, a student desk is last time I checked was $94, and that was several years ago, so I'm sure it's well over $100 now per desk, you know. An activity table example, last ones I bought were probably $65, and that's just a 36 by 48 inch activity table with 4 legs on it. They're probably over 100 too, so. Chairs, wouldn't even know where to start. They're so ergonomic now that you can't get just a typical, what we call a Verco, 18-inch Verco chair, which is just a plastic bucket seat. So just wanted to plant that seed for possible future discussion or whatever.
Okay. So we can bring that as possible potential projects as we look at what we need for.
yeah, so we've got, next month, we can kind of come back, look at this stuff again. We've got several more budget meetings when we plan the work session. I think between now and then, if there's something you want us to do more research on, that you would like to see, that would be, let me know, and I'll work with our directors to add that to the agenda. So far, what I hear is Robert, if you could work on that Flat Rock loading dock. And
Yes,
maybe
sir.
kind of bring back some ideas at the next work session. We've kind of got this. I think it would be helpful, I'd like for Audrey to go back into, I think it was topic number 3, and show the capital funding. Because today I met with Doug, and so just think about this for just a second, electricity. So we anticipate over a 6% increase in electricity. And so last year, the electricity was 16%. What we paid for electricity equaled 16% of our local capital budget. That doesn't count fuel, oil, natural gas, or water. So I'm just saying, that's a big chunk of what we're allocated is just on those items. I could bring that back to you so you could see that in the big picture. That's why we've not spending money on furniture. That's why we've got a 20-plus-year-old commodity truck. I mean, those are the things, and there's some other big ticket items that we're gonna have to purchase, that we just have to have, and we've not purchased those, several vehicles. And we're in the process of trying to replace some of those at the maintenance, but we've got some others to replace. So those are the things, I'd like to bring those back to you at the February meeting to kind of, again, discuss. And then when we think about prioritizing what our needs are to the commissioners, these are real life examples that you have that you can have conversations with.
So what amount?
And that was 11, I think it was, if I remember correctly, that was over the next 3 years. Duke's increase was more like 11% overall, because it was 6% this year and then so much next year and so much the next year, so.
So what kind of amount you looking for your furniture budget? 100?
I just put $100,000,
Is that, I mean, is that the number?
that's the number I'm thinking, is,
If you spread it over 20 schools.
Yeah, that ain't much.
that would be minimal, I mean, but if we could just get on the point to where we could do a media center a year and some student furniture, get on a rotation, kind of like the IT department does with cameras and, you know what I'm saying? We could get on some type of schedule where we're replacing so much each year.
So like your roofing, just talking about.
Yes, sir.
And we could potentially, if we could find a company, we could potentially, if we sign some type of contract, we can get a discount, say that we're gonna spend X amount a year to be on rotation with furniture.
Is that typically a state contract?
It is, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's lots of vendors that are on state contract, you know, so the price is set by the state depending on what you get, you know, what type of furniture you're interested in or purchasing, but about anything and everything school-related is on state contract. I mean, if you look at, you know, cafeteria furniture, it's on state contract, media is on state contract. Typical, you know, student desk is on state contract, so,
And it's not always the cheapest either.
no. But you can, I mean, there are different levels, you know, I don't want to call out a name of a company, but there are different levels of furniture. You know, you can go mid-grade or you can go high-end. So, let me fix that. That little chirp.
There's a bird under there.
Put that on your list.
Add that to the Flat Rock project.
I'll be honest, I was enjoying it,
Like,
kind of relaxing.
okay, any other questions about special projects? Thank you, Robert.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing you back with your recommendation.
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Jody's out there, just send her on in.
So y'all know we're off schedule. No.
Are we?
About an hour.
Yeah.
Right, talk fast, Jody.
I will.
Children's Center, okay,
Yes. So, hope y'all are doing okay this afternoon.
good.
It's going to warm back up.
I hear that, and
So,
rain.
Yeah, yes. So for me, for the work session, I have an MOU that just needs to be updated with our services for the Children's Center, our partnership and things that we do with them. And it was just updating some of their services, the dates. They have a new therapist that's bilingual, which is great for our Hispanic families because it's very hard to find a bilingual therapist in the area. So they have hired a bilingual therapist. Mr. Johnson and I have been talking about the MOU. It was created when the school mental health plans were issued 2 years ago, and so we're just needing to update it. And Mr. Johnson has been helping me with getting those updated along with the updated services that the Children's Center can provide for us. So just an update to our MOU with them and our partnership.
And reading through it, of course, every child referred has to have parental
Yes,
consent.
everything is when we do referrals, anything that before we begin any type of services is parental consent.
And now with our new mental health counselors, how does that, is this another step and they help do the triage before they get handed off to?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, so with our tiers, they're like our tier 2s, tier 3, they can work with students, and if they see they need more, then they can refer to the Children's Center.
So I was looking at, I'm sorry, were you done?
Yeah.
There's Children's Center Services, the family programs,
Mhm.
ages prenatal to 5.
Mhm.
Now, that's not stuff we're doing, correct?
No, but we can refer, like if parents are seeking
So
services.
if we refer them over,
We
who's
can
paying
refer
for it?
them over, yes, and those are provided in the evenings normally in different areas. They work in Yadkin County or in Surrey County. And the Children's Center, what's nice is if they choose to attend those programs, provide transportation, they provide dinner, they provide childcare while they're there getting some resources
So
through that
if we
program.
refer someone over, then who's paying for the services?
Nobody does. We do not pay for those. They're free to from the families through the Children's Center.
Gotcha. I think it's awesome that we can use the children's.
They are wonderful and have wonderful services that are provided for us.
And with
That
their
we can
shift from
use.
residential, they've got more resources to help with some of this.
Exactly. That's why we wanted to update the services. There was one on there called TIP. It's a truancy service, and so we're real excited about that one. That might help with our student success coach and some of the attendance issues, especially in elementary school. So they are providing some more additional services that we have not had in the past.
And you know, I'm excited about this day treatment.
Oh, yes.
That's something that I think can help the schools too, because now we can pull them out temporarily and help them with their issues and not disrupt
Consistent,
schools
exactly.
consistently.
Yes.
So are you saying we don't have to pay for any of the services that we?
No,
You-
normally with the Children's Center, with the school-based mental health services and things like that, they use Medicaid, so they bill the Medicaid for
Okay.
those services. And then they, if the parent doesn't have insurance, they allow 5 pro bono slots for us.
Right.
So it's free to that family, and they'll provide up to 5 spots for us.
Sounds like a no-brainer.
I love it. I mean, because that was a concern of mine when I was looking through it, was one of them there, we'll have one full-time designated just to Surrey County Schools a therapist. And with the intent of adding more, I was just making sure where the funds were coming from.
It comes through Medicaid, and they bill, they do the Medicaid billing through the Children's Center.
I think they do a good thing, and I appreciate it. I'm good with it.
And then so we'll need this on February agenda for approval. Okay.
Correct. And Mr. Johnson, there was a few like duplicates in there. He was fixing that for me, but he said that would all be fixed before the February board meeting.
Good. Then we'll just put it under consent if it's okay for everybody, since we know. Okay, good.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, thank you. Y'all
Look
have a
at
good
you,
evening.
you're doing your best to get us back on track. Now we're only 55 minutes.
Well, this is
I got
supposed to
Bob
start
at 10 minutes.
Are you ready for
We're actually 45 minutes left.
Okay.
Mr. Atkins.
This one is a 2-pager on Surrey Community College.
Hey, Mr. Atkins, Soloway.
Hello?
How are y'all?
You gonna talk to us about a barn and about concession stand?
Absolutely,
Good.
absolutely.
So we have, I believe you have the attachment of the revised MOA with Surrey Community College that, I guess it was not last week, but the week before, on Friday maybe, that myself and Ms. Holloway, Ms. Johnson, and Jeff Jones, Ashley Morrison, and James Quick from Surrey Community College, we kind of hammered this thing out in a couple of hours over there, and would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
My big one is she still doing all the feeding?
So,
She has done the feeding, I'll let
Yes.
you answer that, Misty, if you want to.
so, yes, she has done most of the feeding, but we are working out a schedule with Mr. Quick in Surrey Community College.
So they are going to join in and help.
Yeah,
Yes.
and they were quick to acknowledge that they probably had not, got that part figured out on their end,
Yes.
Mr. Hutchins at the time.
And the only thing I noticed in here that would be a change to that is they're not gonna agree to do anything in the summer, because they don't have summer semester in most cases.
They do not, and, James is a 9-month employee,
Right.
whereas our ag teachers are 12-month employees. And Sarah felt very comfortable with that because the need for the animals will be, of course, a lot less then than it is now.
You mentioned changes, what, of course, I hadn't had a chance to look at this, but what major changes were made?
Well, I think it's, if you look at number 2, Mr. Whitaker,
Yeah,
we
two,
did,
two.
one thing that our folks really wanted to write into the agreement was that there was a clear understanding of who was responsible for the care and cost associated with which animals. Because the large ruminant animals are where our instructional piece is focused, whereas the smaller ruminant animals, goats and sheep, is where the college is doing most of their instruction with. And you'll see we wrote that in there plain and clear. And then Ms. Johnson and the college wanted us to talk about on down in the agreement, having designated specific storage areas for their equipment, the supplies that they need and us too, and I think we came to a good agreement on that as well.
So will we own all the animals, or will they own, like if they want goats and sheep, will they own those?
We did, the college requested that we own all the animals, simply because of all of the red tape and hoops that they have to jump through in order for them to own animals, such as a committee that they would have to form. We'd have to have 2 scientists on it. They'd have to hire a vet to come, and it was over and above and beyond what we have as requirements.
So during the summer, even though Quick is not there, they'll still pay for
Yes, yes.
feed.
Based on number 2, they would be
Right.
responsible for those
Okay.
animals as well.
The storage room we built in there, is that big enough for what they need for storing
It
feed?
is on our part, would you
Okay.
agree, Ms. Holloway?
Yes, on our part it is.
And then I believe the college is using the D building down there.
Right across the
storage.
street. All right, good.
Yeah.
That clears it up a lot, because
Sure,
that way they don't have to get into our storage to get their feed out.
Sure.
Okay.
Correct.
the college, and we also, we added an item, what number is it? Anyway, to say that, you know, when we sell animals, that any proceeds that we get, with whichever they are, they go right back into the program, which that makes sense, that's what we're supposed to do anyway.
I like what you put in there about the registered sex offenders are not allowed
Yes.
on our campuses at all.
Ms. Johnson's happy?
Yes.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Good.
Okay, so we'll add that to consent also at the next one? Sounds good. Thank you. Appreciate y'all working so hard on it, because it was a little confusing. We had a couple number 2s, we had a couple of, yeah, so,
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Concession stand.
Yes. So, and thank you for letting me speak on this. Surrey Central has been approached about the donation of a building. The size would basically be a 10 by 25 building that would replace our current concession stand that's out in the athletic complex there between the baseball and softball fields and tennis courts. So it would be bigger than what we have. Eagle Carports is the company that would be donating this building. It would mainly be for baseball, but softball would also have access to the storage area. Tennis would have some access as well, but it would also be for a concession stand.
Is it through the 508 Foundation?
Yes, well, I
Are
think
they
that's what
donating
this
it to the
says.
foundation?
Yes, and then, yes, but it will be donated, yes, to us for our use.
And I noticed the window for the, being able to sell out of it's like it's 3 feet by 80 inches. On the picture, it looks like it's a small window, but that basically will go across the end of the building there, right, to be able to serve out of it?
It would be more conducive.
So it's like 6.5
What we have
feet
now,
wide?
yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
okay. And then the backside of it will be storage, I'm sorry.
Yes, the backside would be storage. And
They're
we would
in-
need a concrete slab, I'm sorry.
No. So they're installing the building, are we doing the electrical and so forth and so on? Who's doing that?
We don't have electricity to the building currently. Well, I mean, it's not installed. We run an extension cord.
Is there power to that, to the, oh, mine's
We
on mine.
run basically an extension
The bathroom.
cord,
Yeah.
to the bathroom.
For that train?
Yeah, I guess we do, yes. So, but to the concession stand, we run an extension cord across. It's high tech.
We could probably upgrade
We
that.
make it work.
I didn't hear that.
So we can work that crock pot and fan that we need to. But as far as that part, that hasn't really been solidified, but I do know that we would have the building donated, and we would need a concrete pad poured. This could be potentially SCS funding, absolutely. I mean, okay.
Did you include this in your amendments? That concrete
No,
pad?
sir, but I can do that.
Just upgrade that. or update your amendments, and Audrey and I are scheduled to work on that tomorrow.
Okay, and I'll plug in where it's gonna come from.
Okay.
Electricity, do I need to include that as well?
I would.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would, because there will be some cost with conduit and wire. Wire is expensive.
They've run water to that bathroom trainer too, haven't
Yeah, there's water there.
they? So you can run water to that little concession building.
It'd be a lot easier to stuff up all that right now while it's there. It's like,
What about touching base with Robert on this? Is that?
I talked to him this morning, he didn't have any concerns about the building and where it was going. We didn't talk about electricity and power and water. I think he and Doug both understood there'd be a concrete pad.
That's
really close.
You're gonna run a popcorn machine and have a drink machine and
We're gonna serve food.
Exactly.
Yes, well, cold drinks, some kind of food.
Okay.
I'm gonna pre-make a motion to approve.
It's gonna be located,
for 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
located where the one is now. Right?
Yes, we've measured, we think that there is adequate space there, but yes, that's where we have to put it.
Misty, your timeline, you want it done before baseball, softball season?
I mean, if possible, I think that starts in 3 weeks. I don't know if we can get it done that fast, but as soon as possible would be great.
Okay.
And as a construction instructor, I would love to find a way to get those construction kids out there to watch the pads being poured and getting their hands dirty, and
They would be all about
I'd
it.
love to see that. Good. Thank you.
I like it.
Okay, so we'll put that on the consent agenda again too, then. He's already made the motion, pre-motion.
Pre-motion approved.
Approved. Okay. Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you for working to make our campuses better.
I'm good.
Just
donate.
And we got skip money to do the pad.
Yeah.
The funds are there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're talking about the honors level credit for the drones class.
So, when we did our high school course guide in the fall, we requested to DPI and the CTE department that they also offer that as an honors course. CTE was a little bit later in getting some of their courses done, and we had already approved our course, but honors drones is now a course with a course code, and I request that we add it to our local high school course guide so that students can receive honors credit for that class.
To start in the fall. Okay.
We've already put drones in, but what we need to do is offer honors drones as well, add it to our school course guide.
Well, I tell you, you've probably seen in construction right now, utility line surveys, there's so many things right now, job opportunities are unbelievable. People can operate these things. So it's not just about having a hobby and having fun with them.
same with the military.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you have a big number?
Good idea.
Or taking these classes?
So high school course registration does not close until the 1st of March. So I don't even go in and look at it till they close it because it changes honestly, Shane will run us a report 1st of March, or as soon as we get back from spring break, then we start looking at it, so.
So this would typically be something that would come through the curriculum committee, but with our switches, anybody got any other questions, any problems with it?
Actually, Paula and Neil brought it to me,
Okay.
based on their meetings.
So you're not adding it's not another staff member, it's already a class, you're just adding honors.
That's right, correct. And most of the time in CTE courses, they teach differentiated courses. Honors drones would probably be taught within the regular drones
In the
class.
same class. And one of the things we talked about on the curriculum committee, you don't just make it harder, you put more rigor in it.
Oh,
You don't
yeah.
do more homework, but you gotta do it, you gotta go to a different level to now analyze it, apply.
Or a different project, or a different, just.
Even though they're in the same
Yep.
class. Okay. All right, so if everybody's good with that, then we'll add it to the consent agenda. Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Substitutes.
Yes. Thank you. I just wanted to talk to you and have a discussion about substitute allotments. We had a discussion earlier previously. Just wanted to give you some information on that as far as the allotment goes. Payroll ran for me the allotment numbers as far as the number of schools that as of December, the 1st of December, how many have met their allotment for the year, and there was 3 of 19 as of December 1st. Since then, there's been 3 others that have hit that allotment and a few others that are real close to that allotment. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. We did talk to principals at the last leadership meeting about maybe some incentives, different things that they were thinking about as far as employees and attendance, and something I'm gathering that information and will share with you about some incentives that they came up with.
So what do those schools do that are out?
Well, Dr. Reeves has told all the principals if they're out and there needs to be substitutes, then we're gonna get the substitutes.
They do exactly what they do.
They did say, most schools did say, when we went through the budget committees, budget meetings with all the principals, that most of them can find a substitute. That's not the issue. Most of them said they could, especially when they know in advance. At the 6 o'clock, and I know it's difficult to find one at 6:30 in the morning. But most of them said that if they knew in advance, they're able to find a substitute, which makes me feel good. We put a lot of time into training subs over the past several months and bringing people in to do that. So we're looking at ideas. We're looking at maybe what other districts, I've reached out to other districts to see about incentive information, just trying to collect that information so that, we did talk about having some incentives a few months ago. Just want to let you know that we're still working on that information and trying to present something that, we can work with going forward. But we do want, our kids to continue to have what's best for them as we go through the year.
And I've told elementary principals in particular, if you need to use your TAs, obviously use them, but you've seen the flex time in the small groups, and really that's our fix-it time. And so I hate to pull those TAs because that disrupts that schedule. And those are some of our students who need the most intervention.
Yes.
And obviously, either 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 5, teacher there working with kids on sounds, on fluency, on just all those small things add up to a lot of things. And so when you disrupt that schedule, that's impacting students' reading, their confidence, their ability to comprehend. So we've got some principals that have worked really hard to manage that budget, and some that are in the black. You also, the other thing you can't factor in is, every staff's different. You've got different needs. Some staff members have young children, some staffs don't. Some staff members have older parents they're caring for. We've seen sickness run through schools. And this year in particular with flu, RSV, COVID, we've seen a whole multitude of respiratory problems that are impacting people, bronchitis. It's impacting to a rate that we've not seen them in the last couple of years. So anyway, those are all factors that are out of our control. So what I've told principals with our substitute allotment budget is that is obviously something we're looking at, we're reviewing, comparing, what we're spending to other districts and taking a look to see, okay, well, where are we at, where are they at, and how do we stack up. So I think a lot more, we put a lot into this on the back end to try to help us understand what decisions we need to make in the future.
I appreciate you looking at that. And it's not easy. Having been a teacher, teachers will come to school sick versus having to call in. Yeah, because it's not the same having a sub. They're basically a babysitter for a day. So, yeah.
So we've got comparative information on those districts.
Not yet, we're working on it.
We're working on it.
One district.
Yeah.
Because we're asking for some information that's pretty specific. And, for example, what are you spending on substitutes? How do you do your allotments? What's your student attendance rates? What's your teacher attendance rates? How does that compare? I mean, we're looking at all that comparative information because they do a whole different allotment for their substitutes than we do, and I'm curious to compare those and just see. I think what we'll find, I know they're spending more for substitutes than we are. I know they are. They're just a little bit bigger than us, but not a lot. So it'll be interesting just to see. And that's not to say they've got it perfect, or it's not to say that we know, it's just another district to look at that's close by, and its demographics are very
It's
similar.
a topic at my HR meetings every time. There's the same topics we talk about, finding bus drivers, finding substitute pay, getting them, same topics every district.
That's one of the most requested things that's talked to me about from staff, is talking about substitute. And I think by and large, probably 99% of the staff they're not abusing it. They just have circumstances and they're doing the best that they can, but there's going to be some that abuse it no matter where you're at.
In every career.
Every career, somebody's going to abuse it, but like I said, I appreciate you looking at ideas.
Okay. Review of policy 3420.
Board members, I have been working on the Surrey County Schools Parent Bill of Rights, Parents Guide to Student Achievement. It's a big, long document. I'm not ready for your review yet, but it's getting there. And in the Parent Bill of Rights, and in that, it calls me to review policy 3420, because there's a large portion that talks about promotion requirements. Our current policy that we have in place states that the superintendent shall develop proposed promotional standards and a process to be used in determining the student's readiness to progress to the next level of study, and shall submit the standards and process to the board for approval. In working with my colleagues across from the state and folks who are in districts neighboring us, those requirements for promotion were spelled out in policy. So I have Dove helped me. We looked at 4 other school systems who essentially had the exact same policy, and so I have put that in draft form for your review. I just think we need to have it in writing and be real specific. I like things in writing. I like to be able, I go to board policy a lot and say, okay, well, this is what it says. I don't want to trap us and be vague, but as you can see, we did put general statute that principals have the final authority to grade and place students, but what's that checklist? What does it look like for K2? What does it look like for 3-5? If we're ever questioned, I feel like, policy is our go-to. So this is just a draft. We need feedback. Feedback from principals, but I do request that we do look at what changes we might want to make on that policy, and that we lay it for 30 days and then that we would take action on it. I just think it would help tighten it up just a little bit to help us.
So this will be officially presented to us at the next business
Yes.
meeting. We have 30 days after that. Okay.
And I will send, I'll get feedback too from our policy committee, from principals, whatever feedback that we need.
Okay.
But did certainly feel like that we might strengthen our current policy.
Any questions on that, on the policy? Okay. All right, then we have strategic planning session.
Let me say this on policy too, because we're going to get a big update. I think it's in April, is that right? So we had just a few policies that we hadn't gotten to, Mr. Bledsoe. We kind of prioritized and pushed what we thought were the most important ones to the very top with the policy committee. Now that we're come back to this, I think the best thing for us to do is probably put 3 or 4 policies on every work session for us to go through. And especially in April, we're probably going to have more in that when we get these updates from the School Board Association. So food for thought in the future, we're going to start adding more and more policies to this work session to begin reviewing and looking at together collectively as we make those changes, well, as we progress. And then we will push that out to our old policy committee, we'll now call them policy advisors. But essentially, you want input from principals and from teachers and from classified staff on the way these policy changes could impact. And so we'll collect that, and I'll bring it back to you as we go through these policies, much like we did in policy committee.
Can we still get those updates emailed to us that the School Board Association sends out with the recommended and
Oh yeah,
all that?
You want the total or just for the ones that we're considering that month?
Just whatever they send out every month, just forward on to us
Yeah,
just to see the School Board Association.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I know the majority of them are add a period here or yeah, footnote.
So, board members on strategic planning. Okay, I met with Larry Coble last week, and we kind of outlined strategic planning and where we're going this spring. I know when you met with Dr. Coble and Buddy Collins, that was something that we all agreed that would be a great next step for the school system. So, in trying to take that and move forward, here's where I want you, I'm going to outline this, and then I need your input on how you want to set it up. So basically, from this broad point of view, when we go into this strategic planning, there's a steering committee. And this steering committee is composed of people that we would consider to be stakeholders. Stakeholders could be teachers, parents, business leaders, community members. But stakeholders would be people that obviously the school system impacts, touches. It could be really close, or it could be from a distance. But people that obviously are well respected and people that you would value their input, because essentially those stakeholders, that steering committee is going to drive the majority of the work from this 30,000 viewpoint level. And so in our first meeting, and basically we're going to have 6 two-hour meetings in the evening, and for 30 minutes of that we'd have a meal, and then we'll have an hour and a half of really pretty specific time with a beginning time and an ending time, and then really a workflow with some pretty specific expectations of what's to be done during that hour and a half. We would break the steering committee into 3 groups, and each group's going to work independently, and that's really just because of the size of the steering committee, is to facilitate a little bit more discussion within each group. And then we're going to compare what the 3 groups come up with. So in the first meeting, we'll have a welcome. We'll kind of overview what all this looks like. There'll be, you do an overview of the planning model. We divide into 3 groups. And you're going to look at the vision, the mission, and the values in the first, second, third meeting. You're going to look at what we currently have, and then that steering committee is going to work on developing mission, vision, and values for the school system. And obviously, you're part of the steering committee, as well as many others. And in the 4th meeting, and we can change the order of these meetings, but Dr. Danley and I, we kind of do a situation analysis in our schools. Here what, so what, now what? You know, where are we at from an academic standpoint? Where are we at from a what's our current strategic plan look like? What's been our focus in the past? We could present some of the needs assessment information that we gathered about 5 years ago in that survey. I mean, I still believe some of that information is relevant because we had over 30-some-hundred people take that survey. And then the steering committee would begin writing goals. And then on the 6th meeting, we would convene action planning teams. And these are really made up of the area experts. So once you write the goals and decide what the goals are, there's going to be pretty much 3 to 5 goals. In this strategic plan, we have 3 goals: achievement, leadership, and life. And so within each goal, you're going to develop strategies, timelines, and then it's going to be our job to tie the resources. So the work isn't finished at the end of the 6th meeting. That's just the end of the major of the work with the steering committee. And then the action planning team members, which are made up of area experts, directors, principals, teachers, would then take what the goals from the steering committee had created and really start developing that. And then bring that back to the steering committee for final approval. So, lengthy process, starts with the steering committee, 6 meetings, goes to the action planning team meetings for members for really the detailed work, and then comes back to the steering committee for final approval, edits, and then we communicate that out to the public. So typically 4, 5, 6 month process to do this work. What Dr. Coble and I talked about was, get started now. Do you want to set this up in 6 straight meetings? Do you want to set it up every other week? We need to start looking at dates, sessions. I thought it would be great if each board member invited 3 people to be on that steering committee. So three people that you feel like would be great members of that steering committee. Each board member, let me know. We'll write them a letter. I'll put the dates. If we had the dates, I think they'd know what they were committing to. Then they can be a part of that. But I think that's the way we build this community strategic plan and make sure that we're getting widespread input on the work that we're doing. This is really the model we've used in the past, and like I said, Dr. Coble and Buddy Collins, I know Dr. Coble's done about 150 of these, so it's a solid model that works.
So, obviously that's 15 if we give you 3 each. And we talked earlier today about 30 to 40 overall. So do you take a look at what segments of those stakeholders we haven't got representation from, and then you fill it in, the extra?
Well, I think you do want business people. I mean, I'd look at our Business Advisory Council. You know, we sat there at East Surrey the other day, and we had the hospital represented, we had Altech represented, we had Smith Road Construction represented, Extreme Marketing. I think about people who are taking our interns and really believe in our work. I'd want to invite some of those people to be a part of it. I think it'd be great to invite a county commissioner. I think it'd be great to invite the county manager, to invite the community college president, Chamber of Commerce executive director, economic development executive director. We impact all 4 corners of this county, and I think we are a major player in all things Surrey County, all things. And we need those people to be a part of the development, because you're thinking next 3 to 5 years, this is the work that we're going to be doing. So that's how important it is to get the right people on that committee, people that can see that bigger picture, people who understand the impact of the school system, people who will advocate and help us. You know, maybe it's for funding, maybe it's for something else, but you know, people who really believe in public education and are going to see the relevance of the work we're doing.
What if we put it as a discussion item on this next board meeting? Let us have a couple weeks to think about when we would want to start. And
Sure.
then maybe come up, decide as a discussion at the next meeting, sort of when we want to, do we want to start in the next few weeks? Do we want to start in a month? Do you want to do it every week, like you said, or every other week? Just give us a couple weeks just to sort of think it over.
Yeah, that's the purpose of me talking about it tonight,
Yeah.
is to kind of lay it out as to what it's going to look like, so you can think about that.
That's a time commitment.
Yep.
I mean, that's.
But with a 5-year impact, it's
Right,
it's a big
right.
deal. Well, I mentioned, I think at the last meeting, we've been so bombarded with parent involvement and community involvement. I want it to be parent engagement. This is engagement. This isn't just complaining about something. It is, how can we help you fix it? So I think this is a great next step, and it can set the course of the school system for the next 5 years.
When you say invite 3, are you talking about staff, or are you talking about outside?
Anybody?
Public?
Anybody.
Okay.
And then we could fill it out with, say all 5 of us pick 3 teachers, so that's 15 teachers. Obviously, we need business people involved, and so that, we can sort of figure out how to fill it out with the stakeholder. I would hope we
You're
would.
gonna set a vision, you mean, from top to bottom,
Yeah.
or, I hate to say things that way. I don't see people as bottoms.
Right, everybody.
We need to, we need a slice of this county, see where we really wanna go.
Well, maybe we as a goal, when we can talk about it at the next one, each of us pick a business leader, a parent, and a staff member. And that way, and if there's something else that you would like to include, that's up to you. That way, we're not all picking the same segment. But you're right, it's everybody, the economic development, chambers, they all need to have an input because we affect everybody.
The treasurer said it'd be 3 different committees. Is that right? Meeting separately.
Well, in the steering committee, what Dr. Coble has done, once he gets them in there, let's say there's 30 people, just for even numbers. It's hard for 30 people to really get together and work, so he just break them up into 3 groups of 10. And then that 10 works. They work independently, but then they come back together and they compare, okay, well, here's what we came up with in our mission statement. Well, here's what another group came up with. And so you're kind of taking the best of all 3 and combining the work. And that'll be what Dr. Danley and I do after every meeting, is take the work of all 3. But the steering committee drives the work. And you're gonna see people that step up and really take ownership of the school system. And I'll tell you, this will be the 4th strategic plan I've done. The process is more important than the product that you'll ever create. Just going through this process of really, what are we about? What is our goal? What is our mission? How does our work impact children in the schools, in the offices? I mean, it really helps set the tone for the whole school system across the board with all of our employees and with the community. Because I think we can't do the work separately. So I don't want you to think there's going to be 3 different committees now. No, that's really, it's just to try to help with the workflow.
Okay, so everybody good? We'll discuss it and figure out what we want to go about at our next meeting, how we're gonna. Those are good questions, and I think, and obviously Larry's done this a long time, so he's good at it. And I hope y'all got as much out of that retreat as I did, the retreat right here in this room. I think it helped us see as a group what we wanted out of it, not as individuals, I like that.
So we're gonna discuss this again in the next work session.
I'll add it. Do you want the work session or the February business meeting?
Whatever y'all want. I mean, I don't want to kick the can down the road too far, but I'd at least like to, the board make the discussion. Or we can do next work session, it doesn't matter.
Well, I think because now we've sort of compacted our business meeting because of having this, what about we talk about it at the next business meeting?
I think that'd be good.
And then that way it's only 2 weeks away.
We're talking in terms of timing and
Yeah. Dates, so what day of the week works best?
coordination.
Right, Wednesdays don't work good, Tuesday, Fridays don't work, no, Mondays are messed up. So I think we got one day, I'm not coming out on Sunday, y'all can if you want to, but maybe Thursday's the only day of the week.
I ain't coming out Saturday or Sunday.
Okay, all right. So I guess we figured out that Thursday's the day then, but.
How was that?
Oh, don't do that, don't do that. Okay,
So I'll add it to discussion on the business meeting at our February business meeting. And if there's anything you need from me between now and then, just let me know. I'll be glad to. But right now, Dub and I'll just add that as a discussion item. And we'll have our calendars out, and you can too. But I think, to me, as I was processing and thinking about this, if you're going to invite 3 people, I don't want to know what I was going to committing to. So if I had my dates, it just makes sense to me. Let's go ahead and have our 6 dates of our meetings. And if it only takes 5, then that's a bonus. But at least we've got our 6 dates. They know what they're committing to. We can find a location. It'll probably be at one of our high schools. We'll probably use our child nutrition staff to help with the food. Anyway. But we promise to feed you. We can go 5:30, 7:30. We can start at 6 and go 6 to 8. But if we get them in, start on time, we end on time, and they see that there's some traction and we're really getting the work done, and their opinions being valued, I think people will come back for the 2nd meeting, 3rd meeting, 4th meeting. That's what's important. when you serve on these kinds of things, to know that it's meaningful and important.
And what I would ask is to make this smoother, probably wouldn't hurt for you to talk to those three you're going to recommend so that they know what's coming. They don't get blindsided by a letter in the mail saying this is what we're thinking about. If you can, just contact them and see if it's okay if you nominate them.
Well, they're gonna ask, you know, what we're gonna talk about, what's the goal, what we're looking at.
Yeah.
If you could put those things down, and what we hope to accomplish.
Sure.
Yeah, those things right there would be, because really it's up to that steering committee to come up with that. What do they recommend we do?
Yeah, well, you know, they could recommend something different,
Yeah.
but
I'll work on something.
Okay, everybody good with that? All right, I think we got it under action, but really it needs to be under discussion. We talked
Yeah.
about it. The calendar that we agreed to at the last meeting, and those two dates and how we're gonna handle those.
What I did, I just surveyed our teacher advisory council, our parent advisory council, and our leadership team, and I told them to get them back to me today. And Dove and I are gonna put all that together, and we'll put it in an email, and I'll send that input so you can read it. And I'll add that to our action, as an action item, to take action on the October 10th and the February 28th, those two dates that were colored in orange, that we put TBA or TBD on. Is that acceptable?
Works for me.
So, it's anonymous. Our teacher advisory council, those are the teachers of the year, selected by their peers, so they're automatically, they become an advisor. The parents are folks that I've met with. Some of them are PTO presidents, some of them are Booster Club presidents, and then our leadership team and principals. So I'll submit that feedback. You'll have that, and we'll add that just to make that clear. I don't think it's been a big, I've not received a lot of questions based on those 2 days. Has anybody else?
I haven't received anything since
Yeah.
then, before the meeting.
So I think that time-wise, that's fine.
Is that good with everybody? We'll talk about it? Okay. So, real quick, well, we cut it from 4 hours to 2.5. That's a good, let's keep that going. So if everybody's good, let's get a motion to adjourn and we'll go home. Motion by Mr. Hutchins, second by Mr. Goldwyn. Aye. All those in favor, aye? Aye. Thank y'all, appreciate it. We're getting better at it.